Mash is a very powerful gym bro with no magic, living in a world where everyone has magic powers. In order to save his father's life, he enrolls in a magic academy, where he hopes to become the strongest magician that ever lived. All of these began with Mash lifting some weights in the woods. The dumbhead lies with his old father, Burnedead. While Regro thinks about his son, Mash pulls out the door to get into the house. This scares the hell out of him, causing him to scream like a teen girl at a Justin Bieber concert. Seeing that it's just his son, he yells at him for ripping out the door. In Mash's defense, he states that he couldn't remember if he had to pull or push the door. Hearing him say this, Regro is surprised, since Mash has lived in that house all his life. He angrily continues to yell at Mash, and the latter eventually apologizes to his father, promising to fix the door. Trying to do so, Mash ends up destroying the door even further. This leaves Regro boiling in anger. Later that day, Regro is about to head out, and he instructs Mash not to leave the house or go into the city. However, immediately his father heads out, Mash wastes no time and runs straight to the city in search of some cream puffs. While walking through the street, he partially covers his face, and looking around he wonders why everyone is using magic for even the most basic things. Eventually, he arrives at a cream puff shop. When he offers the seller the coins for the puffs, he notices that they have been squeezed. This shocks him to his bones. Noticing this, Mash bends them back in shape. Seeing him do this freaks the seller out even more. Without wasting much time, he hands Mash his cream puff. Shortly after, the hood on his cape falls off, revealing that he has no mark on his face. Seeing this, everyone is surprised, since this signifies that he has no magic. While this happens, a magic police officer, Brad Coleman, pays attention to the news, where a young promising student is being talked about. Shortly after, Brad rises to take care of a prisoner he has tied and tortured. Just as he is about to continue, he gets informed about an unmarked human in the city. Meanwhile, Mash is still unaware of the situation he finds himself in. Just then, he is reminded of his father's words, telling him to never go into the city. While he apologizes in his mind, he doesn't regret coming since he got the cream puffs he came for. On his way, he mistakenly crashes into a chubby-looking police officer, who gets angry because his uniform has just been stained by Mash. Angrily, he starts ranting, and to ease his pain, Mash offers him a cream puff. This gets him even angrier, especially since Mash has just offered him a half-eaten cream puff out of pity. He slaps the cream puff out of his hands and goes ahead to start a fresh set of rants. Furthermore, he seeks to know what Mash would be doing about his stained uniform. In response, Mash rips the uniform apart, claiming that he would wash and return it to the officer. This gets the officer even angrier. In the middle of this, Brad arrives, feeling like a top G, and urges him to stop making a scene. Just as he is about to start asking questions, Regro arrives, swiftly grabbing Mash and running back to the forest. Watching this happen, Brad is pleased, since he thinks finishing this case would give him a chance to be promoted. He immediately sends a magic bird to go after them. On getting home, Regro yells at Mash for going to the city and ignoring his instructions. The pitiful Mash, seeing how angry his father is, apologies and promises to never do it again. Seeing him in this state, Regro finds it hard to still be mad at him. However, he orders him to repeat the morning's training routine as punishment. Before leaving, Mash hands his father the rest of the cream puffs he had bought earlier. After he leaves, Regro ponders on how much his son has grown into the opposite of what Heg thought an adolescent should be. They had lived in the forest to hide Mash from the rest of the world, but he worries that now that the magic police know about Mash, there could be trouble. Due to this, he ponders upon a possible solution. However, it's already too late, as Brad's bird has already found their location, and now he breaks into the house. At this moment, Mash had just finished the training routine and was heading back home to have some cream puffs. He is about to head in when he hears strange voices. At this time, Brad tries to torture Regro into telling him where Mash is. However, the oldie doesn't flinch. Remembering how challenging it was for him before he found Mash, he is more determined not to reveal Mash's location. Instead, he screams at the top of his voice, ordering Mash to run away. This causes Brad to figure out that the boy could be close by, so he orders his men to search the area. Just as they approach the door, Mash barges in and lands a silencing punch on one of them. Just then, the fatty officer from before approaches him, and Mash rips his uniform again. Before he could go on a ranting spree, Mash hands him a couple of slaps to shut him up. To finish this up himself, Brad conjures a powerful spell, which had been used to drive away a dragon previously, throwing it at Mash. Shockingly to everyone, including Regro, Mash shoves the spell off with a backhand slap. The shock seems more evident on Brad's face as he wonders if magic can be easily puffed like this. Just then, he launches another spell, powerful enough to destroy the entire area. As you'd expect, Mash shoves it off once again. Angrily, Brad throws multiple spells at him and Mash casually juggles them all, after which he uses one of them as a football to dribble the chubby officer, causing them to be more infuriated. Seeing his father's wand on the floor, he picks it up. This leaves Brad wondering if the boy could actually do magic. Immediately, he sets up a barrier to protect himself from any form of magic the boy would throw at him. However, Mash throws the wand at him, destroying the barrier and leaving a cut on his face. At this point, Brad accepts defeat. Having saved his father, Mash threatens Brad to leave his family alone or risk dying in his hands. In response, Brad suggests that they make a deal. He asks Mash to enroll in a magic school and work hard to be chosen as the best student, who would be referred to as the Divine Visionary. Hearing this, Regro urges his son not to take the deal, but Brad assures Mash that they will be hunted down for the rest of their lives if he refuses. Considering this, Mash accepts the deal against his father's wishes, but he assures his father that he is only doing so to make sure they get to live in peace again. Hearing this, Regro is proud of his son. Later on, Mash arrives at the school. He is met by an extremely difficult entrance examination. While the students hang around, the invigilator arrives in grand style. He introduces himself as Claude Lucci and instructs them to take their seats. Since there were no seats there, he shows off by using magic to create seats and writing materials, leaving the new intakes thrilled. All except Mash, who Claude notices. He decides to make the exam tough for him. The first test involved questions revolving around the paper with the use of magic. However, Mash finishes way before the 30 minutes allocated to them by ordering the revolving questions to stay put. When Mash submits, Claude is surprised that a student whom he thinks of as a slacker is doing this much. He becomes really furious and is prepared to make things more difficult for Mash. For the next test, he creates a very complex maze and instructs everyone to find their way out within 30 minutes. Mash sets out, but is interrupted by a young lady who asks if she can tag along with him. Seeing the damsel in distress, he accepts. However, she clearly becomes a distraction as she continues falling into traps. Due to this, he decides to ditch her. Not wanting this, she stops him with magic, binding his hands and legs together. Mash breaks free from her trap after finding out that she had deceived him for a selfish purpose. When he takes off, she gets attacked by a giant who seeks an answer to his riddles. Not having an answer, she falls on her knees and begs. He ignores her pleas and is about to attack her when Mash slides in, saving her sorry life. He punches the life out of the giant. With little time left, Mash and the girl break through the walls. Seeing this, Claude is shocked to his bones. Just before he could react to this, the headmaster, whose name is Master Wahlberg, appears. He beckons on everyone to be silent, as they will begin the final interview immediately. He also states that from that point on, he will take charge of the examination. To continue, he uses magic to teleport Mash into the interview room. There, the headmaster seeks to know why he chose the academy. In response, he states that it is to live in peace with his family. In order to teach him a lesson, the headmaster causes the room to transform into a stormy place. Even with this, Mash is calm. With how Mash handled this situation, the headmaster is convinced that he is a kind of person who possesses the capacity to assist others. After this, the headmaster apologizes for any inconvenience he must have caused to Mash. With the completion of the interview, Mash is welcomed into Easton Magic Academy. Later on, the new students attend their first class, as the professor teaches them one of the most basic spells, which is the lock-opening spell. After that, he instructs them to try it out. To the surprise of everyone, instead of casting the spell, Mash breaks the lock into two. This leaves the professor extremely infuriated. Meanwhile, a student who has been watching the whole scene is irritated by Mash's personality and wishes that he is never a roommate with that kind of person. However, things didn't turn out well for him when he checked out his room only to see that his new roommate is no one but Mash. Realizing this, he lets out a loud scream and introduces himself as Finn Ames. Amidst all this, the secret that Mash cannot use magic remains hidden to everyone except him. Instead of figuring out a way around this, he spends his time eating his favorite snack, cream puffs. While doing so, he remembers that they would be having a broom flying class the next day, and he surprisingly has no broom for the class. Upon realizing this, he asks Finn to lend him his broom. The next day, the students gather around for the broom class. While the teacher addresses them, she instructs them to channel magic energy into their brooms and command it to fly. As easy as this might sound, the students were unable to go through with even the first instruction as they found it hard to command their brooms to fly. Not wanting to be mocked, Mash channels his strength and steps powerfully on the ground, causing his broom to float into his hands. Then, in a sly move, he utters the word "fly." This act confuses the hell out of the students, who state that Mash just cheated since he already had the broom in his hand before he said "fly." Meanwhile, the other students have finally been able to float their brooms, so the teacher states that it is time to evaluate how fast they can go. Hearing this, one of the students, who clearly has a beef with Mash, challenges him to a race. Without thinking twice, Mash accepts the deal and the two get set to begin the race. The student, however, is very confident that he would win this race since he has been riding brooms since middle school. When the race begins, Mash leaves the student behind in extraordinary speed. This leaves him stunned beyond imagining. The teacher, on the other hand, is extremely surprised to see a new world record for broom racing being set. The other students claim they didn't even see Mash when he moved. Finn, however, had a good look and was able to see what really happened. He claims to have seen Mash throw the broom in the air immediately the race began and use his strength to raise himself on the broom, using air resistance to reduce his speed and mounting the broom in midair.
What?
Meanwhile, the student angrily states that Mash cheated. He intends to make a big deal out of this, but the top student in the school, named Cavill Lloyd, steps in. He asks to be friends with Mash and that they meet after school that day. This gets mixed reactions from the other students, who clearly know Cavill to be a bully. Later that day, Cavill meets with the student who had challenged Mash earlier, and we realize that the student had actually been sent by him. He punishes the dummy for messing up a task as simple as this. At that moment, Mash and Finn are walking past the hallway, and he asks Finn who Cavill is. In response, Finn reveals that Cavill is the son of a high-ranking member of the Bureau of Magic. And since the Bureau of Magic is absolute in the realm, Cavill possesses some authoritative powers amongst the other students. Having heard this after school, instead of going to meet Cavill like they had agreed, Mash spends his time in the kitchen making cream puffs. When he tastes them, he wishes his father was here with him to taste them too. Later on in class, Mash brings out his textbook to find out that it has been destroyed. While he wonders how, he assumes they are falling apart. Just then, Cavill comes to meet him, asking why he didn't come for their meetup. In response, he says he was making cream puffs. As much as this annoyed Cavill, he tried to keep a straight face. Hearing about Mash's dream to become a divine visionary, he offers to put in a good word for him to the vice principal if only Mash does as he says. For starters, Cavill orders him to do so many menial jobs. The next day in class, Mash brings out his textbook to see that it has once again been destroyed. This time, he asks Finn for his. Finn, however, gets scared and refuses, but eventually does so when Mash refers to him as a good friend. After that, Mash meets with Cavill and his two friends, and they make him clean water off the ground. While doing so, they all walk away, leaving him behind. In the midst of his latest chore, he feels Finn's textbook in his coat and decides to seek him out in order to return it. At this moment, Finn gets confronted by Cavill. This makes us realize that he is responsible for Mash's destroyed textbooks. However, all this had been on Cavill's orders. This time, Cavill orders him to burn Mash's uniforms, but feeling guilty about how he has treated Mash, Finn refuses to go ahead with this. This causes Cavill to smash Finn's head to the ground, using magic. At this point, Mash, who is still looking all around for Finn, finds his friend with his head on the ground and bleeding. In this state, Finn apologizes for what he had done. He says he decided to stop after Mash called him his friend. Cavill, on the other hand, is unbothered about this, stating that Finn owes him an apology and invites Mash for a meal with the vice principal. He assumes Mash would continue to be the dumb and gullible boy that he had thought he was. While talking, Mash walks towards him and grabs his hair, smashing his face to the ground.
Emotional damage!
Instead, he asks Cavill to apologize. While this is happening, the vice principal is just around the corner. He threatens to hold a school conference regarding the involvement of Finn and Mash in this violent incident. While the vice principal blabs on, Mash hurriedly kicks him in the face to shut him up. This gets him very angry as he threatens to expel Mash. Due to this, Mash digs up the ground and throws him. He lets the vice principal know that just as he can expel any student anytime, he can also be buried anytime. When the vice principal shows no remorse, Mash goes ahead with burying him, leaving him screaming loudly. Due to this, Mash gets summoned by the headmaster and shown a letter by the Bureau of Magic, ordering that he be expelled. However, he chooses to ignore the order of the Bureau, since he feels Mash did the right thing. With this, he hopes Mash gets a chance to become a divine missionary. However, to do so, Mash must be the top student at the academy, which would require gathering enough coins through schoolwork and activities. Although the coins are different and are categorized in gold, silver, and brass. As expected, those with more gold coins are highly regarded. Later in the day, while walking with Finn, Mash is met by a student named Tom, who asks him to represent their dorm, Alderdorm, in a Duello match. Apparently, Tom is a great sportsman and last year's Duello MVP. Since Mash knows nothing about this, he doesn't seem interested. However, Tom continues to convince him, recounting his extraordinary skill in the broom race. Eventually, Mash is forced to accept. The next day, the competition begins and the others get competitive mid-air while Mash remains on the ground. Although he couldn't fly since he possessed no magic, he remembers his father and just how important it is for him to go ahead with this in his aim to get the required number of coins. While he thought about this, everyone wondered what he was doing standing and yelled at him to fly already. Seeing that he had chosen to be a statue, Tom goes to remind Mash of his vow to be number one. After that, while playing the game, Tom gets hit by an opponent and ends up with a fractured bone. Witnessing this, Mash picks up his broom and springs up in the air. Just then, he asks for the ball, and it is given to him. Seeing this, the opponents flew towards him, attempting to take the ball from him. But as he threw the ball, it swooshed past them and entered the ring. Everyone was thrilled at the sight of this. Shockingly, the ball flew back to Mash, and he continued to throw it in such a way that he scored and it kept coming back to him. Eventually, Mash won this for his team with an outrageous margin. Due to this, his team was given silver coins. Shortly after, while Mash and Finn were talking, Tom approaches him in the hallway and thanks him for winning this for them. By the next day, Mash became the most popular guy in school. Due to how overwhelming the attention was getting for him, he asks Finn for help. Suddenly, Lance Crown entered the classroom, and he asked if he could join them in their fun. Tom was shocked to see that he had 2 marks on his face, which signified that he was a twice as powerful mage compared to them. Lance had come to suggest that they do something fun. He traps Tom, Finn, and the nosy girl in a bottle and challenges Mash to a duel in order to save his friends. They both met in the forest, and Mash seeks to know what this was about. In response, Lance told him to call it a bet. They would have to bet each other's silver coins on this duel. Even though Tom advised him not to do it, Mash is determined to save his friends and grab this extra coin. Lance took out his wand and cast a spell to mark their fight zone. When the fight began, Lance cast a spell that subdued Mash to the ground. Mash tried to stand up under the gravity of the spell, but Lance told him it was futile. Immediately, Mash attacked by hitting him, and something fell from him. It was a pendant with the picture of a little girl in it. This happens to be Lance's sister. At that moment, Lance tells Mash to give it back, and he does. After this, the two stopped fighting for a moment, but Lance threatens to drop the bottle off the cliff and speed up its fall with his magic. Everyone in the bottle began to panic for their lives after hearing this. While this happens, he remembers the sad moment of his life when his sister was battling a disease that threatened to take her power gradually and then her life. This was his reason for wanting to become a divine visionary. Finally, he threw the bottle off the cliff and increased the falling speed with his magic. He looked back to ask Mash what he would do about it, but surprisingly for him, Mash was ready. He ran at the speed of light to save his friends and got back to the top of the cliff in no time. Lance finds it unbelievable. He wondered if he was using physical enhancement magic. Suddenly, he snapped out of it. He did not want to falter because he still needed to help his little sister, so he felt he needed to stop fighting with Mash at that point. Meanwhile, the bottle Mash had saved happened to be empty, so he enhances his speed and searches Lance's body to find the real one. Since this basically signified his defeat, Lance hands the silver coin to Mash as agreed. The outcome makes Mash wonder what would have happened if they really fought. Immediately after Mash released his friends, they all thank him for saving their sorry lives. Meanwhile, in this academy, 4 dorms exist. Alder, which houses students with courage and conviction. Orca, which houses students with wisdom and willingness. And Lang, which houses students with ability and ambition. The uniqueness of the characteristics of each dorm makes them rivals against each other. In the Alder dorm, where Mash and Finn live, Mash reveals that he has 2 silver coins. Since 5 coins make up a gold coin, he is left with 3 to complete. Their moment of relaxation is immediately halted when Finn remembers that they were given assignments which they haven't done. Remembering this, they panic. It gets worse when he remembers that it is a portion assignment which they have to submit unless they intend to risk being severely marked down and find themselves in the dropout range. While Finn panics, Mash offers him a cream puff. Their panicking is eventually interrupted by Lance, who wonders why they haven't done their assignment. Since they had just been loitering around doing nothing, Lance refers to them as the dictionary definition of slackers. While they do not argue with this, Finn seeks to know if Lance has done his assignment, and he states that he has. This doesn't surprise Finn, who expected such an answer from Lance, the top student in the class. As they talk, Mash walks up to Lance and opens up the pendant hanging on his neck. This reveals the image of his sister Anna in a bright reflection. This reflection causes him to be thrown to the wall. Due to this, he passes out. When Lance regains consciousness, he takes them to the kitchen, where he provides them with the necessary ingredients needed to mail their potion. One of which is a mandragora, a living root which screams very loudly. According to Lance, in order to use this as an ingredient, they would have to silence its screams. He shows them how to silence it using the spell Quietus. After that, he hands them each a mandragora. Finn tries his best to replicate the spell but finds it hard to do so as the mandragora continues to scream. Seeing him fail in his attempts, Mash offers him some advice on how to make it work. At that moment, we think he will get his done in no time. Unfortunately, when he does his, the mandragora starts to scream very loudly. While Mash faces his failed attempt at magic, Lance instructs Finn to focus his magic on one point, giving him clearer instructions to make it work. When Finn does this, the mandragora falls asleep. On the other hand, Mash's mandragora becomes huge and attacks him. He dodges and gives it a powerful slap, causing it to pass out. With this, he feels the task is complete. With that part of the portion making complete, Lance teaches them the next step. The sleeping mandragoras have now become herbs, which he turns into a compound by cutting, frying, and adding some spices. As much as the process seemed simple for Mash, it was very complicated for Finn. When Mash tries to replicate it, stating that he is good at anything that does not involve magic, he ends up making a cream puff. This shocks Finn to the bones, as he wonders how that is even possible. Lance doesn't see it as an issue at first, as he thinks Mash is trying to mess with him. However, when he tries it again, he ends up producing the same result. This is even more surprising to Lance, who spent his time narrating and following up the entire process. With this, Lance concludes that Mash is completely useless with anything that doesn't involve fighting. Just then, he warns Mash, stating that he would never lose to him again, revealing that there is a reason he needs to join the Bureau of Magic. We all know that reason is his sister Anna. However, when Mash seeks to know what the reason is, Lance states that it is none of his business. Although he acknowledges the fact that Mash equaled him in combat, he is determined not to allow some nobody take away Mash's coins. Mash, on the other hand, doesn't feel the need to be warned since he is confident it would not happen. Meanwhile, the principal thinks about the all-dorm off-campus class coming soon. He wonders if Mash would be alright. At the same time, some students walk past the hall and one of them is hit by a red-haired student who passes without apologizing. This makes them angry and they try to call them to action. Shockingly, he easily whoops their asses, referring to them as side characters who have no rights to give him orders. In a shocking turn of events, the students in the Lang dorm are being told about the power of the divine missionaries. Apparently, they are the ones who rule the world. The leader orders them to seize all the coins belonging to the students in Alder. The next day, the students are made to wait in the woods in preparation for the outdoor class. Mash, when asked, assumes they are going for camping, but Lance doesn't think that's the case since they are in a magic school. While waiting, the red-haired kid, who had beaten the other students, arrives. He introduces himself as Dot Barrett and doesn't stop laughing. When he approaches the trio, they find him to be weird. He, however, recognizes Mash immediately as the student everyone talks about. While he continues blabbing, his talk is interrupted by a girl who runs towards Mash in admiration. Seeing how close she is to him pisses Dot off. He is unable to hold in his disgust at the situation and blurts out the fact that he hates guys who get attention from women, threatening to kill Mash. He feels offended that no girl admires him and guys like Mash who are hot get all the attention from girls. This, he claims, led him to want to join the Bureau of Magic in order to rid the world of hot guys like Mash. While he rambles on, a teacher appears, stating that the exercise would be done by the Adler and Langdorms only, with their rewards being either bronze or silver coins. For their task, he shows them a forest scorpion, instructing that they are expected to exterminate them and return with the stones embedded in their foreheads. While most of the forest scorpions are worth bronze coins, a few very strong ones are worth silver coins. Ready to embark on the quest, Lance lets Mash know that he intends to get silver coins in this task. Just before going further, one of the students in the Langdorm named Silva, who seems to have an issue with Mash, arrives. He scolds Mash for looking down on others, and uses his earth magic to create a pillar which hits Mash in the gut. Seeing this, the professor threatens to remove some of Silva's marks for that, but he apologizes. Afterwards, he heads into the forest. While he walks away, Mash tries to follow him, but is stopped by Lance, who cautions him, stating that Silva is a year above them. Aside that he is known for misconduct, and for also beating a teacher, which had led him to repeat the year. Even after all these, the Academy has been unable to expel him due to his magical talents. Hearing all this, Mash is unbothered. He is more concerned about the safety of the cream puff he had hidden in his pocket. Seeing this, Lance realizes that the cream puff was the reason Mash had attempted to have a go at Silva. Shortly after, the two head into the forest together. While in the forest, Lance finds that he is alone as Mash is zoned out. Just then, Dot arrives and is shocked to see Mash. Since an opportunity has shown itself, he thinks it is time they fight. Just as they are about to do so, they get the loud screams of a girl in the distance. Getting there, they see that she is about to be attacked by a fellow student who feels offended by her. Fortunately, she is saved by Dot, who blasts the student just before he attacks her. In appreciation, she thanks him and holds his hands, and this causes the clueless dummy who has never held a woman to be flustered. He tries his best to maintain his cool and keep calm, but she continues to thank and touch him, causing him to start acting out. At that moment, we realize that she had casted a spell on him all along, causing him to fall madly in love with her. After getting Dot, she moves to charm Mash, who spends his time eating a cream puff at the moment. Her numerous attempts at getting him to accept her thanks are futile, as he continues to state that he had no hand in saving her. After that, she tells them that she is being chased by Silva, who had been threatening her. Just as she talks about it, he appears. Speak of the devil. On his appearance, Dot wastes no time in throwing various forms of attack at him. This, however, doesn't have any effect on Silva, who uses his earth magic to shield himself from the attack. Then, he launches an attack of his own, causing an earth pillar to strike Dot's gut. A stone from this causes Mash's cream puff to fall off his hand, leading him to finally be interested in the happenings around him. He mocks their skills, stating that even a moron will see the difference. This finally gets Mash involved, and ready to give Silva the beating of his life. Meanwhile, even after getting hit, Dot gets up and is more determined to save the damsel in distress. To make it fair for him, Silva offers him a deal. He promises to leave the girl alone if Dor is able to endure 5 hits from his magic. Furthermore, he makes it enticing by pitting his silver coin in the line. Without wasting much time, Dot accepts the deal. He thinks enduring 5 hits is a piece of cake. However, Lance also mentions that Mash would also have to endure 5 hits too. Since Mash has got nothing to do with this, Dot offers to take his hits too. Immediately, Lance begins the festival of hits. One after another, Dot continues to endure it. He remembers how pitiful the girl sounded while crying earlier. This causes him to be more than determined to go ahead. For the 10th hit, Silva slams Dot with multiple Iron Fist magic, leaving him lying lifeless. Well, that's just what Silva had thought, as Dot stands tall, shocking them all. Shortly after, he falls again to the ground, leaving Silva happy that he has achieved his aim. Even while lying on the ground, Dot beckons on Mash to flee with the girl. Unknown to him, this girl he was trying to save was friends with Silva. She had been sent by the Langdorm to charm him and force him into a duel with Silva in order to get his silver coin. Dot's utmost stupidity leaves Silva laughing uncontrollably. His loud mouth is eventually shut by Mash, who throws a cream puff into his mouth. He challenges Silva to come at him with the same 10 hits Dot had endured. This sounds pathetic to Silva, who still tries to taunt Dot for being played by the girl. Wanting this piece of shit to shit the hell up, Mash charges at him, wanting to land a punch. However, Silva notices this just in time to block his attempts with his magic. This leaves a cut on Mash's face. Entering into his psychopath mode, Silva begins landing multiple Iron Fists on Mash, who willingly gets hit. After a few hits, Mash decides to stand his ground. He toughens his triceps and charges hard at Silva, who launches multiple Iron Fists at him, but Mash dodges them and lands a well-deserved punch on Silva's face. This leaves Silva bleeding through his nose as he cannot imagine what just happened. Angrily, he gets up and unleashes what's meant to be his most powerful attack at Mash.